Hi, folks. This is your host Mandeep. It is Sunday, November the 24th. And in today's video, what we'll do is we'll take a look at the performance of the ultimate trading strategy, but we're going to focus on the mobile device today. Now, many of you are in my Discord room, and those of you who trade using the ultimate trading strategy on the desktop are aware that about a month ago I released a version that now works on the mobile device, and it's really useful for people that are on the go. So I'm currently recording this on an iPad device, but this also this strategy works just as is on the phone as well, right? So it works. I've tested this on the iPhone. However, if you have the TOS mobile version running on another phone like the Android, this should work just as well. Now, one of the things that I always emphasize in the room and in some of my videos is that if you're day trading, one of the things you want to look at to start with is the sector list. So the sector list will tell you where the institutions are focusing their money, at least from a short-term perspective. So in my case, when you open up the sector list, this is what I view. So I see XLY, which is the consumer discretionary sector. We have IWM, which is the small cap stocks are part of this index. We have the US dollar, we have the home builders, and we have the healthcare sector. So for me, really the goal is to find stocks that are part of this sector. And this whole system that we have, which is the UTS strategy, is predicated on stock selection, and the stock selection is based on a scan that I provide for users that use this software, and that scan essentially gives you stocks that are currently moving, right? So they have high momentum behind that, and so they're likely to provide you the best opportunities for day trading. Now, I'd like to emphasize one thing, that in trading there is no certainty, right? You only have probabilities, right? So the only thing you can do is you can put the probabilities in your favor. Now, even if a stock looks exceptionally good, there is always some news during the day or some other action that could drive it lower or close the trade. And that's exactly the reason why I also emphasize on putting stop losses on your trade. So the important thing is, before you take the trade, you need to know what is the stop loss that you're going to assume on this trade, and what is that stop loss based on. The stop loss could be based on a dollar amount. So for example, you could say, based on the money that you put in, I am willing to lose no more than $200 in this trade. That's one example. It could be based on one of your favorite indicators, like the Fibonacci series, or you could base it on support resistance, or in our case we have an automatic close, right? So once the trade closes, you get out of the trade, right? So as long as you stay consistent with this strategy, which is you buy when you get an up arrow and close when you get a close, you will end up ahead, right? So I've always mentioned, this is not a system. No system can be perfect, but I can also show you some results on a third-party site where I'm hitting about 85% success on my trades using this strategy, just day trading. And excuse me, and I'll be happy to share that with you as well. Okay, having said that, let's just dive into now the day trading list, right? So on the watch list, now what we're going to do is we're going to find out what day trading list is. And this day trading list is something that comes standard with the UTS strategy, whether you own it on your desktop platform or you own it on the mobile device, right? So the day trading strategy will give you where your focus would be for that particular day. So now that we have our day trading list in front of us, one of the first things we noticed today was that the number one sector today was the consumer discretionary sector. And your goal is to always find some stocks from within that sector So if we scroll down, one of the things you see, we have Hilton, which is part of the sector. I'm sorry, which is Hyatt, which is part of the sector. We have Hilton also, HLT, which is part of the sector, and we have Marriott, which is part of this sector. Now, when you see more than one stock that's part of the same sector, which is also the leading sector, then those are some of the trades that become fairly obvious to trade, right? Or fairly obvious to take. Now let's take a look at each of these trades and how they panned out, right? So as you can see, we got an up arrow on the Hyatt hotels, and this trade so far hasn't closed and is working out fine, right? And if you were day trading, you would close this trade at the end of the day. Now let's take a look at Hilton. And that's another good example of a trade that was initiated on Friday around, let's say, 99.50, and the stock just kept going, and it's currently trading at 101.25, right? And let's just take a look at Marriott as well, since it's part of the same sector. And what do you see? We see kind of a similar pattern, and that's precisely the reason why you want to focus on the sector list, and then from within that sector list find some leading stocks, and in the list be able to quickly correlate if there are at least a couple stocks that belong to the same sector. So that's these were a couple good trades. Now let's take a look at the XLV sector, right? So it was the healthcare sector, and that's actually been in vogue for the last couple of days, and there were some really good opportunities in that. So one of them which I traded as well was Amgen. So let's take a look at Amgen. Now there were in the last couple of days there were good trades. On Thursday the 21st we had a buy arrow, and that trade closed on Friday earlier in the morning around 8 or 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then we got another entry into it again at 229, and that trade is still positive, and this is a trade that I took that worked out quite well. So now let's take a look at Eli Lilly, which is part of the same sector as well. And there was one trade that initiated on Friday that closed, say, about even, and you got into another trade that's currently still working, right? We can also look at a couple other trades, and this is STNE, Stoneco Limited, and this actually gapped up most likely on earnings. And one of the things you will notice here is that it didn't take the trade right off the bat, right? So it actually the system actually waited for a retracement to occur, and then it got an entry around $37, and from $37 it's up to 41, and the trade hasn't closed. Let's take a look at Veritex as well. Vertex, my apologies, and this one also is part of the drug sector, and this got an entry around 215, and it's about 217 and a half, right? So all of these are good examples of stocks that were worth trading. In fact, you could go through the entire list here, right, and you will find opportunities, right? So there's another good entry, and this is just for a day trade, 271 to 274 on Align Technology. Now Alexion, which is also in the pharmaceutical sector, we got an entry a little bit late though, but this is still the trade is still going. Biogen is another good example, and this is another trade that I ended up taking. The entry actually was initiated on Thursday around 9:30 Pacific Standard Time at 288, and the stock is up to 300. In my case, I actually ended up doing a day trade on this, and I was able to take this off on that spike, and I was it was just because it went from 294 to about 303 or 304, 301. Is something I was watching, and I was able to take it out, very close to the high, and I posted the results of this as well in my Discord room too. So now we can take a look at another example, CYBR, which is CyberArk Software, the security space, and again, you had a very good entry, starting at 119, and it's 121. So pretty much any example that you pick from this list will show you an entry, and it'll also why they all did well is simply because of the fact that these are exactly the stocks that were leading that particular day, right? So most of you know there's a sector rotation that's constantly going on, right? And this list, which is dynamically generated, you don't need to adjust this list on daily basis, right? Each day it'll adjust and come up with a list of stocks. But if there are too many stocks in the list, the way to look at it is, first look at the sector list, and then from within that sector list, identify a couple stocks that happen to be in your day trading list, and wait for the buy entry and take the entry. Hopefully this helps. And one of the things I will do now is I'll also show you the results of how the ultimate trading strategy has been doing on if you're strictly day trading with this. So these are results that are hosted on a third-party site. In other words, once an entry is made, you cannot just take that entry off, right? It's cast in stone, right? So you will see the entry and you'll see the exit, and you can see the results and how many trades worked out and how many failed. So let me show you that, and then we'll end this video. Thank you. So as promised, I was going to show you the results of the day trading strategy as well, which are hosted on a site which is called the collective2.com. So this is a strategy called the day trading strategy using the ultimate trading signal here. Now, in this case, it assumes that you were using 30,000 as your capital, but really that's not where I want to focus on. What I want to focus on is on the data that we currently have and the statistics that we currently have that I can share, which shows you a little bit about how the ultimate trading strategy works. So this one, I've only started recording this for the last 2 months, and for those of you who've been using it for about a year know that it produces consistent results. But anyway, so far, as you can see, it has returned close to 17%. We have 31 trades, out of which 87% were successful. We have a profit factor of 3.7 to 1. There's only 2 months, so I can't say that this is enough data. But as you can see, we returned 5.3% in the first month. We've returned 11% in the month of November for a total return of 16.8%. Now you can see there were a total of 31 trades that have been taken thus far with this strategy, out of which 27 are successful. And you can take a look at the rest of the data. And the thing here is every trade that has been taken is kind of time stamped, right? So if you are obviously not a member, you will only see after the trade has been closed and what the result is of that trade. But you can see, of course, I've had a couple losses, right? And but you've got enough wins to offset those losses to be ahead of the game. So as I said, no trading system is going to be perfect, right? Most will return about 50% success rate, and ours is returning at least close to 86, and even if we do a little bit less, 75% is also phenomenal, where 3 out of 4 trades are good. And so hopefully this gives you a little bit of a perspective, and this is just based on a very consistent strategy I use, right? Which is basically I look at stocks that are currently in vogue, because where the institutions are focusing their money, and then the day trading list I have is really looking for the leading stocks that are part of the leading sectors, being able to quickly correlate if you have more than one stock part of the same sector, and then most importantly look at where the entry is initiated using the UTS buy or sell signal, and then close the trade accordingly. So hopefully this helps, and hope you all have a wonderful weekend. I will speak to you soon. Bye bye.